Association of Financial Advisors of India. Knowledge Series in association with Resurgent India presents live webinar on Elevate and Empower Advancing Women into the C-Suite. Moderator Ms. Sonal Mehta, Senior Vice President, Resurgent India Limited. Eminent speakers: Ms. Bhavna Sharma, Principal Consultant, Lentra. Ms. Nikita Bose, National Head Government Business, InvoiceSmart. Ms. Priyashmita Guha, CEO, PSL Association of India. Ms. Smita Jha, Partner, Khetan Co. Ms. Smita Jha, Partner, Khetan Co.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome, one and all, for a very interesting session today. And today we will be discussing about elevate and empower advancing women in the C-suite. Although, I personally feel women don't need empowerment. We are a powerhouse in ourselves. So, but I would love to start this brief discussion with my eminent speakers to set the code. I would just give a little brief introduction. So I personally feel women leadership and decision making at all levels are essential to advancing gender justice, fostering equality, and driving economic, social, and political progress of all. In fact, when women are meaningfully represented in leadership bodies such as legislatures, courts, executive boards, and community councils, the outcomes are more inclusive, representative, and reflective of diverse perspectives. So there are certain barriers that we as women face generally, when we're talking about growing up the ladder or, the promotion, especially at the C-suite level. So one is the regulatory gaps that we talk about, which are inadequate enforcement of gender equality laws. Then is the talent pipeline issue, that there are not many women which are available at that level, which we can promote them or upgrade them to that level. So that's a major issue that we have. And then there are cultural biases. The society that we're talking about today, there are so many social responsibilities which a woman has, which I don't say men do, but the amount of responsibility which the woman has today is comparatively more. So that cultural bias and the society responsibilities is another thing which the woman has to take care. And sometimes, they have to take a back step on their career when they're talking about growth, because for most of us the family comes first. So probably we have to think sometimes that what if the next step that I take is not very beneficial, or I'm not able to put in that much of time energy with my family. So that's a bigger question which most of us go through whenever we're talking about promotions or changing roles or a growth as a perspective. So that is where, I would like to take this discussion forward, where, I have my eminent speakers. So I would like to briefly introduce them first and then have their thoughts, how has been their journey in the roles that they're sitting on today. And, probably what is the thought process they would like to share with the other women who are probably looking at growing in the organization or looking at growth in their career. So I would like to welcome all my speakers. Would like to start with a brief introduction about Ms. Bhavna Sharma. She's a principal consultant with Lentra. Bhavna is a visionary leader with over 12 years of experience spanning BFSI, consulting, and product innovation across India and international markets, with a rare combination of expertise in computer science engineering, an MBA in finance, and an LLB. Wow, Bhavna. Madam, you have opened all the options there. Kritika, you can be a good engineer if you want to take it up. You can be an MBA in finance and law also as an option. I think, that's a perfect combination for a leader. When you talk about you're technically sound, you are, when you're talking about management, you've taken that role also. And as a legal, it's very important for legal to understand from a leader's perspective. She drives transformative strategies that seamlessly bridge technology and business imperatives. Known for her ability to navigate complex transformations, she inspires teams to achieve impactful results, establishing herself as a leading voice in the evolution of digital lending and financial innovation. Welcome, Bhavna. My next speaker here is Miss Smita Jha. She is the partner with Khaitan and Company. Smita, a partner in Khaitan and Company's Banking and Finance and the FinTech Practice Group, is a leading lawyer recognized by the Legal 500 Asia Pacific 2001. Fantastic. She advises on banking, fintech, insolvency, and digital lending laws, specializing in debt funding, product structuring, and regulatory compliances. Smita actively contributes to industry forums like Digital Lender Association of India and Insol India, shaping key discussions in fintech and finance. Smita, I don't know about you. Probably I come in from the same banking and finance background. And when I started my career, people generally used to look up and say, being a woman, do you understand numbers? Balance sheet samajh aati hai, cash flow samajh aata hai. That's a general tendency people used to have. I'm talking about 16, 17 years back. People used to actually come back and ask, you, although you've done your MBA finance, you're coming from that domain, but do you actually understand numbers? Or do you file your tax yourself? So वो काफी surprised रहता था लोगों को, because finance as a domain was generally reserved for men. But I think times are changing, things are changing. With the finance minister as a woman that we had, I think, she is also setting up new marks for everyone. So my next speaker is Miss Nikita Bose. She is the National Head Government Coverage for InvoiceSmart, a former banker and a CEO. She is a keynote speaker, pro bono mentor for Startup India, and an advocate for MSMEs and women entrepreneurs. Previously with the Ministry of MSME leading the World Bank's RAMP program, she now serves as a National Head Government Coverage at InvoiceSmart. Recognized with the National Leadership Award, Top 100 Business Leaders title, and the Ashoka Award. She's a prominent speaker at the events like ICI and Economic Times CIO, and an advisory board member of CIO Inc. Summit. Wow. Welcome, Nikita. Really looking forward to an interesting session.
Thank you so much.
My last speaker is Miss Priyashmita Guha. She is the CEO, PSL Association of India. So Ms. Guha drives financial inclusion, priority sector lending, and women-led enterprise development in India's fintech ecosystem. With leadership experience at DLAI, iSpirit, and leading digital platforms, she has significantly influenced fintech and startup growth. A passionate advocate for women entrepreneurs and social cause, Priyasmita combines her professional acumen with community-driven initiatives for a more inclusive future. Awesome. I think, that's the need of the hour, where, we're talking about women and MSMEs, and these guys, if they can get any support, I think, they have amazing growth plans. So I think, most of these people get stuck because of right guidance, right mentors, or some initiatives which have been introduced, but they're not even aware. So unawareness or ignorance is another issue with most of the entrepreneurs, and especially women entrepreneurs. And I think with you coming in with these plans for them, I'm sure that will be really helpful for most of the women entrepreneurs.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. And I would like to start with the question answer round with my speakers. So probably I can start with Smita first. So Smita, what practical steps can companies take to move beyond performative actions and ensure measurable gender equality? Sorry.
Thank you, Sonal. Thank you for the opportunity, and it's a great question. Because the theme is such, there are just so many of the difference in treatment sometimes given to women is just so apparent that I've always felt that it's very, very difficult to quantify the damage that it causes, or for that matter, come up with very objective steps which can have that measurable impact. For instance, when this opportunity came to me, I was actually thinking, oh, this one's going to be easy. I'll reach out to my DNI team and they'll give me a presentation in terms of what to speak about it. And then I realized, no, I think this one really needs to be taken up in a slightly different manner and approach. So there are two things which came to my mind immediately. One was the fact that in terms of my own career growth and where I have landed in practice, I would say that things have been fairly easy or convenient for me in terms of my mentors, etc., shaping up and how things got to where I was. And I've had a similar sort of a conversation with my colleagues or seniors, other women who are placed in legal industry, the corporate side specifically. And quite surprisingly, I think it's not as bad as what we get to hear for some of the other industries like manufacturing, consultancy, or some of the more hardcore stuff, which is not really a desk job. So women, of course, have it way more difficult in those sectors. Fortunately, it's not been so for us. And that really brought me to a position where I thought that, am I really the right person to be talking about it? Because comparatively, it's been easier for me. And then I realized that over the years, my own experiences and, those softer and more nuanced form of not discrimination, but sometimes a difference in treatment that I
differentiation. You can say not discrimination, it's a differentiation.
Yeah, right. That I was met with. Sometimes, eventually looking back, I feel that it was kind of unwarranted. And if I did have better conditioning or mentoring, or people around me were slightly different in their approach to leadership or how they saw me shaping up, I think things would have been much different. So I just thought that, for this discussion, let me just talk about some of the things that I have felt and where I feel an organization or any person in a position of leadership can really make it work for the women around them, whether they are juniors, colleagues or peers or whatever. The other aspect that I felt was, what should organizations do? So, like I mentioned, my first instinct was to actually reach out to an HR team or a DNI team and figure out that, hey, what are the policies that you guys are advocating for? Please let me know, and I'm just going to speak about that. And then I realized, I think the first step where something really needs to change is going to be me. And me in any form or any manner, whether I'm a junior in the team, in my interactions with my peers, whether today I'm actually leading the fintech team at my firm. And I have 14 to 15 odd people working with me, reporting to me. So I think the responsibility starts with me first, as opposed to looking at a team of people who will impose or put together some policies and put it down on me. Hey, now you've got to implement it. So I think because the theme is just so subjective, there are few things that are just emanating from my own experience. I think the first and foremost is trust that needs to be imposed in women. Every time there is a conversation around differentiation in treatment given to women,
they need to rise up.
The first thing that I get to hear is that, I'll take example of my own field, a hard negotiation on a term sheet, whether it's finance, whether it's private equity or whatever. Many of my male partners, or for that matter, even female partners, would probably not want to send some of the women who are softer in their ways of dealing with things. They may be way more assertive, way more knowledgeable in terms of, or their exposure to similarly placed situations may be better, but they are just not confident enough to have them front a negotiation, just because they feel that, they don't really have that male voice. So I think the first point of differentiation needs to come from the leadership, where we start putting in enough faith in our women. And that faith and trust cannot be passive trust. Oh, okay, somebody wants to do this, so let's just, who's going to
Let
raise
them do.
their hands, and you just, push them. But there are many others who are just too hesitant to even raise their hands. So the idea is that recognize that talent, get them in front and push them. Now, this is your thing. You need to deal with it, and you have to back them up. That's called reposing trust in women. So I have felt that there is a serious lack of that, and women are anyway, a bit held back. In my experience, I've seen, and this has been my own journey, irrespective of how confident I feel as a lawyer today. I don't believe I was this 3 years ago, and my ability to speak about it. And unfortunately, I didn't really have anyone really pushing me in the front. No, go speak, or this is your thing, you need to
This
do
has
this.
to come within. So it's like, if you need to grow that intent, like, I was just speaking with Smita before this session, where she said, okay, I'm an ambitious woman and I know that I need to grow. So that ambition or that need to grow has to come from within. Nobody can push you.
Exactly. But I have a slightly different point on that, Sonal. My experience has been, I also feel that I'm fairly ambitious. At any point in time, I don't believe I lag in my commercial acumen, in my ability to understand a legal problem or find a solution. In my head, sometimes I feel I'm way better than the rest of the world at large. But there is that inhibition that, sometimes you feel you want to be modest, or what are people going to think when you are raising your voice in a room full of men, or, people who are just way more confident with half your abilities. So that's why I feel it's an active duty of a leader to spot talent and push them and give them that confidence. So this is one thing organizations need to do: mentor their leadership in a manner that they can recognize, how to groom talent and how to push them, and in a completely gender agnostic way. So
I think very well said. Very well said. I think, irrespective of the gender that we're talking about, it is the mentor or the leader's responsibility to promote the right talent. Because personally, if you ask me, I'm coming in from the leadership background myself. I think, the future would not have male leaders or the female leaders. They will only have good leaders or bad leaders.
Exactly. So, I just feel this is the first thing, that, having that right kind of trust and faith in women, that they will do it and they will deliver it. And I can tell you, 99% of the time, when you repose your trust in someone in explicit manner, I've seen most of them deliver.
Irrespective of the gender. I think it has to be irrespective of the gender. Great. I think very well said, Smita. So I'll take up my next question with Bhavna, which is very relevant to what Smita was just discussing, where we were talking about that women need to be a little more soft or aggressive, both at sometimes looking at the situation. So Bhavna, what strategies can help women navigate and overcome the double-bind dilemma in leadership, being seen as either too soft or too aggressive?
Thanks for the question, Sonal. So yeah, that's, very relevant, I'll just carry forward the discussion, we have this mentality where, when we think of a leader, we think of a man, right? So whenever, you're thinking of a leader, we associate with the manly or manly or the masculine, abilities that a leader should have. So I think, that's a problem. And, whenever, a woman, when we do something, we are damned. Oh, damn, she's so bossy. And when we don't do anything, we are doomed. Oh my God, maybe she's not capable enough, or maybe she's not confident enough. All these things are, prevailing. And, that somewhere, gets you to think.
How to handle it. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
I said, that's what it comes down to. Probably you're not able to handle the team.
Absolutely. And when then it takes you to to you to think whether you are doing it right, or what is that you are not doing right. So again, I mean, there are a lot of things, like if let me let's see it this way. If a man is assertive, if a man is bossy, then he's a leader. Okay, this is how a leader should be. And if a woman is a assertive, and if she's confident and she's like, no, she's bossy, and nobody likes such women in the organization. They try to pull her down, and they will try to maintain a distance. That's what my personal experience has been. However, on the other side, if you see, if a man or a manager, male manager is is emotional or little soft, and everybody was depreciated that okay, oh wow, he's so nice, so sweet, yeah, and all of that. But on the same way, if a woman is like that, like, oh, she's not capable of enough, maybe she's not confident, and she's not coming across as a leader. So this is a typical, a double dilemma, that everybody has in their mind in the corporates. That how
what are the strategies you think we can probably as women put in? Yeah,
absolutely. So basically, first of all, you have to be yourself. I mean, you should not be proving all the time that to do this stereotypical thinking that okay, this is how a leader should be, so I should be more assertive, or I should be more bossy. But if that is not my core value, if that is not my core nature, I should not follow that path. Right? I should be myself first of all. And there is no point if you change how the world sees a true leader should be, or the what all capabilities or what all parameters a leader should possess. So there is no point following the same path. There could be you can be yourself, and you can advocate for those qualities, right? And once I believe that a woman, when she cherishes or embraces her qualities, then obviously everybody acknowledges that. Everybody kind of it brings credibility on the table, that okay, she knows her shit, right? She knows what is right, what is wrong, and all of that. So yeah, one is that you have to be yourself. You have to be disciplined enough, because every time all my peers would agree that women are perceived that, oh, she cribs a lot. Whenever I'm going and telling something to my manager, oh, she cribs a lot. But however, he's okay in getting all those water cooler conversation with other people. He's fine with it. But if I go and tell him my problem, but I can't stop myself, because if I have something to say, I will say, right? So you have to be confident enough and disciplined in terms of like you are, at the end of the day, there are some parameters you are measured on. So if you're performing, if you know what you're doing, if you know your subject, and if you are up to the mark, if you're competent enough, I think there is nobody can stop you.
Absolutely.
Right? So you have to work on yourself.
You have to prove yourself.
Absolutely. And you have to be disciplined, because if I'm a woman, that's not my weakness. I'm sorry. Right? I am, what you said, more dangerous than an AI.
Absolutely. That's your strength.
And I cannot, so, you should not always be like, I'm not saying that people do, but it should not come across that you're playing a woman card, that, I have a kid at home, and, I have nasty in-laws, and, I need emotional support. So you need that resilience, right? I mean, somewhere if you want to grow, if you want to, because that's how it is required. I mean, nobody is going to pamper you like that. You're not a papa's princess in the corporate world. I'm sorry. Right?
Absolutely.
So, absolutely. And then the most important thing that somebody just said, that you need to have your own network. That is very important.
Very true.
You need to find your sponsors, because I cannot rely on my manager that okay, because obviously that I've seen, like this is my sutta buddy, and I'm chatting of what are new clients are there, new leads are there, these are just water cooler talks happening, and these conversations, exchanges happening. If I'm not part of that gang, maybe I'm left out of, there is a FOMO, right? That oh god, maybe I'm not involved. So why can't I create my own sponsors? Why can't I, link myself, associate myself to, the people who actually, sponsor women, who actually support women?
Absolutely, who understands you, who understands the values you get in.
And if not in the organization, I can find people out, on the link. There are so many women leaders who are ready to counsel you, to advise. You can discuss, you can network with them that, hey, I'm trying to do this, but I'm finding such challenges. How should I navigate, in my organization? And how should I, build more emotional resilience? Because again, at the end of the day, I'm a woman. There are hormones that are playing, right? So all those things needs to be discussed, at a broader level. And it's not very easy for, I would say for a colleague or a male colleague to understand that, honestly, because, and lack of, women in the leadership position, that makes it more difficult, right?
Because you don't have many people at the same level where you can go and talk about it.
Absolutely. And you're not comfortable also, because I've seen cases where, women going on maternity and like, "Arey, ho, theek hai na, 3 months done. Now, why do you need more leaves?" Come on, excuse me. I mean, I have a, life to raise. And if you want to give a birth to somebody, how would you know that, what it requires to raise a life? So, see, I mean, this is very immature, but still it exists, in all the corners, be it MNC, because I've worked with MNCs, I've worked with consulting companies, I've worked in India and, overseas. All these things women are facing every day, right? So it is again on us how strong we are coming across. And, this is definitely, I mean, you need to have that discipline, confidence in you to, just keep going, keep growing. And all these noises, should not pull you down.
Absolutely. I think, if you're confident about what you're doing, so just stay on. And Bhavna, I personally feel, here, if you have a woman leader at the top, so things are a little easier. So because, she understands the pain, she has gone through the same setup, and she knows, what the other person or the other woman in the system must be going through.
Absolutely. And that is another point where you as a leader should have, inclusivity, right? I mean, being a woman, it's not that, okay, I'll only support women. I'll only have 10, 15 women in my team. Why? Right? Because I support inclusivity. I will have, best talent available in my team, be it a man, be it a woman, and I'm going to support everyone. Right?
Absolutely.
So being a woman, I cannot say that no, only women. So I'm not a feminist here. I'm sorry. I'm working, in a corporate, and everything at the end of the day is,
only the talent that matters.
Only that matters. So yeah, that is something, again, a strategy that some, women leaders should adopt, and we do adopt, right? I mean, we've given a chance, but who is ready to give us a chance?
So that's what, because unless you have to be rising up yourself to motivate your team. So it's like, if you take an initiative and rise up yourself, that motivates the rest of the girls which are there at the team. So
Absolutely.
I think, you need to be a torch bearer if you have to actually, set an example for people or the girls at the team.
Like Smita ma'am just said, right? I mean, there is somewhere, you're little nervous, or, you think that, in a room full of man, what if I'm unheard, right? And then you don't speak, and then you go and self-doubt. But you just need a little push, so it's again, when you're the leaders and the managers or the team leads, to identify the talent and, to give them a push that, okay, you need to break this, what do you say, ice. Absolutely. You need to talk. And it's okay. Everybody fails, everybody commits mistake. Even I don't know if I'm being too feminist here or talking some rubbish. I don't know. But it's just that I'm speaking my heart out, right?
Absolutely. I think that's what is required.
Yeah.
Be confident about what you're doing, and the rest of the things fall into place.
Absolutely.
That's the practice which we need to follow. Thank you so much. I would next go back to Priyashmita. Why do you think women's representation declines so significantly from entry-level roles to senior leadership positions? Madam, when you're looking at any organization, most of the organization, there are a lot of entry-level positions where the women are there, but when it reaches to the top, the number is hardly anything. Why do you think that's the reason there?
So first of all, thank you so much for having me. And yes, it does significantly drop. I still remember my first boardroom meeting that I had, which was, they were my clients. And I first walked in, and this was my first experience of seeing only men around me. And I was like, okay, what's going on? Where did I land myself? And then the second one, and then the third one, I was like, okay, then women don't exist. I mean, because at a junior level, you see a lot of women around you, at least when we started our careers. So that was a definite shocker for me when the first time I realized that women don't really reach the top. So there are plenty of reasons basically for it. I think the first very basic reason, especially in India, is that women often drop off the career path. The drop off could be because they've taken a
Family reasons.
break because of family. Because in India, it's still caregiving is still a women's arena. Though I do see a lot of single fathers, etc., coming in, and I really admire it. But it's still a women's thing. So there's a lot of drop in the career, and then coming back becomes a major challenge after that.
Absolutely.
And then coming back and getting back into the top league becomes an even bigger challenge. I think that leak, the pipeline which comes out becomes a major thing. The second is, even if you're in the system, there are a lot of structural barriers. For example, are women, exactly what was being said just now, that, are women getting the promotion? No, they're not, because they might not be sitting there and having the sutta break with you. And, finally going up is a lot about networking than what you do. A thing I've been promoting since 2019, before actually, or 2018 or something of that sort, is start judging people on KRAs. I still remember in 2007 or 8, I had an American boss, the group CEO, and he told all of us, you know what, you are going to get promoted depending on amount of time you spend in office. And back then I was like, yes, of course, I'm going to, I can't be spending at home. And as I grew up, I was like, how does it matter how long am I spending in office? Am I delivering is what you are? Because, if you're going to take 20 sutta breaks or whatever it is, I mean, whatever breaks or you're slow, whatever the reason, and then working till 9 p.m., that's not what I want to do. I want to finish at 4 p.m. And something that I remember my mother telling me way back is that, doesn't your electricity company, etc., how inefficient are you guys if you're going to work till late? You're paid to work within your time. And that's when I started realizing that, yes, I am paid because everything, and we don't understand, spending more hours is not working. Delivering my KRAs, I deliver it in 2 hours and leave. Brilliant. I should be the one who should be promoted first. Because I'm the smartest of the lot. I mean, when I say I don't mean I personally, but I'm saying whoever comes in. The point is, we have done this entire thing of judging people who rise up the ladder as to people, how long do they spend in office versus how efficient are they delivering the KRAs, which is exactly what it should be. If I deliver my KRAs irrespective of me, you never seen my face, then that's what you should get this one. I think that becomes a major challenge for women, because women, for whatever reasons, family and other reasons, don't necessarily end up spending more time in office than they have to.
I feel that till the time they're able to meet their targets within timelines, how does it matter?
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So this is more of a mindset barrier, where I judge people based on time spent than KRA is achieved. And this is something that I've been speaking about. Allow work from home, allow doing anything. How does it matter? I hire people for KRAs, fire them because they've not achieved their KRAs. Nothing else in between matters. Because everything else is immaterial to the story. You're paying me for doing a job, not for spending time in office. Let me do my job and go back. And that's exactly why everyone, and I think that becomes a major challenge when it comes to women, because if you start changing it to KRAs, you will see a lot more women getting recognition. You will start seeing people for who they are, then for how long do I see them, and the familiarity, which basically is what generally works. There's also, this cultural bias. I think Smitha was saying some time back that, I am judged because, I'm a woman. Now, I remember some time back, a female CEO telling me that I told my, the group, the founder, that you hire women who are like men. You need to hire women who are like women. Because we bring our own set of, positives, negatives, whatever it is,
Right.
Why do I have to act like a man to get promoted? I want to act like a woman and be promoted in whatever it is. So that bias also comes in hugely. Like she said, if you're bossy, then you're a bitch, but a man can be bossy. And if you're not, then you're not strong enough to lead because you don't know it. And like you said, the numbers, understand numbers. I still remember a conversation. There's actually a podcast or a webinar which is there on LinkedIn, very famous, where women are told, even women in senior position, tumko nahi aata, tum chhod do. Numbers, how can you know what is, insurance, how did it, the men in the family do. So, and that translates into your work life as well. So yeah, so that's basically where it is. Hello. So that's basically, I think, one of the biggest reasons why people drop off. Why, as you go up the ladder, you see that you don't see enough women out there. Hello.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah. No problem. So I said, I think that's one of the big, three of the biggest reasons. I think one is that we ourselves also have a, drop off, of course, and then getting back. And there is no conscious effort done by organizations, not just to get them back, but to make them rise. There are no sponsors, which I told you. Women, generally, as you go up the ladder, CXOs need sponsors. And when I say sponsors, as I was telling before, it is people who are going to say, champion us and say, hey, you're going to do it. Women don't have that, mainly because there are lesser women role models out there who can do it, and men generally don't do that for whatever reason.
True.
The point is, there need to be champions, there need to be people who get up and say, hey, listen, I recognize you have talent. Can I grow that talent? Technically speaking, how many companies really groom talent? We just hire, and then if they grow because they met some numbers, I have to grow something, and it becomes just an HR, this one. Actually, leadership talent, which is something that you should start from the day they've joined in, recognize talent and grow it, is something that is completely missing.
So it's like, you need to have a plan for these guys. So whenever you're hiring anybody, even at the analyst level, you should have a plan for them that, next 4 years, 5 years, how do you want to take them? Nobody bothers about that.
Absolutely nobody bothers, and then there's no grooming, and then there are also these social biases. I still remember I went for an interview long ago, and when I was asked, and what will you do if you get married? I said, I will get married, have a party, and then what will I do? How does it impact my life? I still did not understand the question. I literally was like staring at the gentleman, and I was like, you're asking me what will the party be like? I literally asked him that. I didn't understand what exactly was supposed to answer it. If I get married,
such questions you can't answer.
Because you can, and and one of the things, because of me, what exactly will you do? And that's why I openly, very openly say that I date. I know people admire, but why do I say it? Is because I want to break that social barrier. You don't want to think that I'm not doing something. I lead some other life. I have an active social life. I do everything in the world that a woman is supposed to do, or a human being is supposed to do. And my life, while I'm extremely ambitious, more ambitious than most people in this world are, I have a life beyond it also, and I do it. I do whatever in God's name I want to do. And this is something I remember in one of my jobs where I was told once, you're not reaching on time. And I was like, yeah, my school tried to discipline me. They failed. I don't think office is going to try and do that. I'm not met my targets and I'm going to be there, fire me. And I generally join any organization and said, I don't meet whatever I've been asked to do. Please fire me. Don't tell me in between discipline, where are you going, what timing, because that's not how it is. And that's something which if you start inculcate, and I'm not saying me person, but if you inculcate that, then you become inclusive. See, inclusive is not just a word. What happens is in the DNA, it becomes more about a word and then, a paper, something which becomes more natural to you. Hey, listen, I don't hire you based on how much time you spend at work. I don't based on whether you're going out on a party with me.
More about what you do.
Absolutely. So, you need to have a culture change, which happens to be all across. And because it is there is why the entire drop off that you see, which, as you grow up the ladder. And yes, like Smita said, we have to assert ourselves also, that no stone is moving by itself. We have to get up. I know people are going to think we are bad, but then good women really make history. So I say, go ahead and be that.
No, wonderful. I think, very well said, that it has to begin from you. So you need to take that effort to grow yourself, and the HRs particularly has to have a growth plan, be it male or be it female, for any employee that they're hiring today, at least for next 4 or 5 years. What is the growth plan that they're talking about? So my next question would go to Nikita. How can organizations measure the effectiveness of their diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives to ensure they are making tangible progress in promoting women to leadership positions? Very important. I think DEI, everybody talks about how they're implementing it is more important.
Right. So first of all, I'll begin. Namaskar, and I'm really thrilled, and in fact, it's an honor and a privilege to address in front of you as we gather together such esteemed panelists and all women. I was in the session in the morning at a very huge PSU vendor meet, and it was very weird because I was the only woman in a gathering of 200 odd people. So
That's
that
privilege.
so that was not a privilege. I felt a bit odd as well, but I was given more importance. But at the same time, I thought that things need to change very importantly. So yeah, so this topic is, before I answer your question, I'll just talk a little bit about myself and how close this topic is to my heart. Just because not only in my professional journey, but because of the countless stories that I have personally witnessed all across. So my background comes, I had also been a banker. I started very early, and I suffered slip disc after around 10 years of banking, and I had to forcibly leave my career, so which was a major turning point for me. And 6 months ke bed rest ke baad, I thought what to do. It was a blank canvas, so I started my own company, and it was into financial consulting, and things kept on moving in a good direction. But I'll tell you, when I was hearing other panelists in our previous dialogues, it is very evident. Because when I started my own venture, previously I was backing up a brand. And when I started my own venture, I was told कि hobby है ना, थोड़े दिनों में बोर हो जाओगे. Yeah, people would not trust me with their money because I am a woman and I've started something on my own. So it was very odd and awkward, but then I kept on going and going and going. And it led to a lot of state government initiatives. I chaired a lot of industry associations.
Wow.
I have been mentoring startups and especially women entrepreneurs on a pro bono basis completely, and been called by the ministry to drive some programs. I've written a lot of government schemes for the MSMEs, for women. And I'll just tell you, and I'll also share one, live case example. When I met a woman entrepreneur, a few years ago, I met her. She was an entrepreneur. She started up her own enterprise. Her name, I also remember. She was in her early 20s. Her name was Patralekha. And she was from a remote area in Odisha somewhere. So she had all those struggles that we can, ever imagine, limited resources, cultural biases,
I know
whatever.
kind of location that you were talking about, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All those personal struggles and everything was there. So her, I spoke to her. I have been going out in a lot of sessions and all. So she came to me to meet personally, and I said, "How do you do it? I mean, I am so thrilled to hear your side of things." So she said one line which actually has always been, struck the chords. She said that every time I, feel like giving up, I remind myself that somewhere, kahin na kahin, somebody is waiting for me to succeed. How to show them it's possible. So her lines and everything, it has been there. I'm still having goosebumps when I'm remembering this thing. कि कोई तो मुझे देख रहा है और wait कर रहा है कि ये successful होगी, then I will be, it would be an inspirational story for me. So this story is, honestly, it's not very unique, honestly. Every woman goes through such challenges. Family, struggles are there. Obviously, you are a woman. You are bound to take care of the family's responsibility, especially those who are married, who have kids. The children are their responsibility. The husband is their responsibility. I have often been told by my husband that I am your fifth priority. So all these things play around in a woman's life. But what I consider as a woman is like, जैसे India में बोलते हैं ना, all the rivers are female, except for one, I guess. All the rivers are female because women are like rivers. They just know, even if you stop them, even if you try to stop them, they will find their way out. So that is how I consider women, out of maybe in an entrepreneurial space, in a leadership space. But however, the question still remains that, are we ready to support them? These are the stories I'm telling ki koi khud se aage badh karke, somebody has, made their own way. But is it a situation in our country where people are not pulling each other down, or any colleague down for that matter? So empowering women is not just creating opportunities. It is also about ensuring that the entire ecosystem supports that success. right? It's
100%.
about acknowledging that there are biases, there are systematic challenges, and they face, actually, the women face it collectively. So we need to, as a team, as a leadership, we need to dismantle them, we need to support them, and as leaders, as mentors, as change makers, I presume that this is our moral responsibility, that we must build inclusive workspaces wherein everybody feels they are seen, they are heard, they are
Very critical.
encouraged, right?
Very
They are
critical.
encouraged to take risks. For example, if I'm starting my own enterprise, I must be encouraged by my family, for that matter my husband at the closest, ki jao, main hu na. That's the thing. Just 3 words will actually make a woman's life, actually it will create a huge change in her life. And then there are challenges that are there, stereotypes are there. You should celebrate that kind of a thing. It should be like in a celebration mode. Things should be acknowledged that way. So this is something from my side. And to all the women here today, we must all remember one thing, that what we can say, your journey is possibly your core strength. जो आपकी journey रही है, it has been most important for you. It is unique for your own. It's a story for your own. You can write your own story. It's unique. And the uniqueness is your superpower, and your voice, no matter how soft or how loud it may be, it must be heard. So you need to work it that way. So now I'm coming to your question. When you talk about these, I'm hearing it a lot, effectiveness of diversity, equity, inclusiveness initiatives. In fact, all the organizations today are talking about gender parity. We have a lot of men now, we need to hire females. But are we actually doing it in the right way?
Just for the sake of it, just because you have men and you need to close that quota, that's why you need to hire females. That's not the right approach that we talk about.
Yeah, so I'll give my example only. So when I recovered slip disc and I was a banker, I went to one of the prestigious, most aspiring bank. I always dreamt about working in that bank. I'll not name it, but I went. They called me for an interview, and I was famous in that area that she is a very good resource that can be hired. And my interview happened. And it was a wonderful interview, and I scored everything. But just one day before the interview, I got to know that I had conceived. So when the manager, that person asked me, what is your plan for the family way? I said, I'll not lie to you, because yesterday only I got to know that I am, I am expecting a baby. And suddenly the picture changed.
The expression changes.
Suddenly they said, Nikita, I think you have done fairly well. I mean, I'm so thrilled to have you. I would love to have you, but I think your baby would suffer. Your child would actually suffer when we take. And in fact, if I talk right now also to any of the HR, they would always say कि देख लेते हैं, अगर कुछ expecting है तो we will avoid ना, हमारा भी तो cost है. But is it a disability a woman is carrying a baby? Is it a disability for her getting into such kind of a thing? So I again, I just, when I got this, I came really pissed after the interview. I came back home and I was, I did not feel like talking to anyone. But then that day I made a point that I will not stop, whatever it may. And I started my enterprise, and my baby was only 2 months when I went out for government meetings, all across the corporates and all. I have nursed in the waiting area. 2 महीने के बच्चे को लेकर के गई हूँ, and I'll tell you, this is nothing that the baby has suffered or that I have suffered. The baby is happy and going and always supporting.
All different experience altogether.
Right. So when I say कि ये जो DEI जो हम बोल रहे हैं, diversity, equity and inclusion, these are all technical jargons, I would say. So we need to come out of that, ratio kind of a thing. We need to understand key indicators. For my understanding, it includes career trajectory analysis. How fast that women has advanced to the role. You see that. कि अगर वो manager level पर कल थी, तो आज वो AVP level का काम कर रही है. So you should give a better role to her, na? Think like that. Then
identifying the potential is more important rather than dividing it between diversity, equity, inclusion.
and
Ah,
also thinking that she is giving some representation in the decision making, and there is some kind of a, we should, as an organization, we should be doing a lot of surveys amongst the employees to understand the sentiment of the employees that is happening.
True.
And if a woman is there and she's doing a lot of value, she's adding a lot of value to the organization should look at retaining it at any cost. Ki
Hmm.
bhai, theek hai, you're going fine, okay, all the best. You should understand, you're driving an initiative wherein the woman has to be a part. So this is, I got a bit maybe emotional while talking about it, because it
No,
felt,
I think it was a wonderful journey and experience that you've covered. I think, very important to understand each other's experiences and, see how probably we can uplift other women who are probably looking at your journey or getting inspired by your journey. I think perfectly explained. And thank you so much for sharing your experience. So
Thank you.
I'll go back to Smita again, probably just small questions, last one, which I can take up with each one of you, and very brief answers, which I can expect here. Smita, how can organizations better enforce regulations and policies aimed at promoting gender equality?
I'll just give you a 3-line response because we are pressed for time. Any law or policy needs to be followed in spirit. And to just elaborate on that, we all know about the maternity benefit and the leave that is available. I think most organizations tend to implement that by way of giving a paid leave for 6 months or whatever. But what really transpires after that is that the moment you rejoin, and the discussion is always about giving a prorated bonus. Let's not promote her this year because we want to see whether that's going to work, it's going to work out or not. So the idea, like Nikita mentioned, that the points really should be around the potential and looking at the ability of what a female employee is really capable of, and then you proceed on that basis. Because otherwise, just literally following the rule and ensuring, oh, we have ticked the box by doing that 6-month leave is not good enough. So follow the rules in spirit. There's a reason why they have been put in place. So, the more alive we are to the real cause as to why a law or a policy has been brought in force, I think we are going to be good.
Absolutely. I think, very perfectly say, that probably making laws is one thing, but, following them and changing them as per the situations is very critical because, agar wo sirf laws bana ke rakhne hain, so hardly matters. Then you make thousands of them if you don't want to implement them, or, it cannot be changed as per the situation requirement. Thank you so much. My next question will go to Bhavna. What advice would you give to young women aspiring to leadership roles in a traditionally male-dominated industries? Real estate? Infrastructure? Then you're talking about?
From my lens, I think it's everywhere. Every industry is heavily male dominant, except the Bollywood. So there's still we have all the divas dominating. So yeah. So see, the only advice that I would give is you need to be yourself. You need to have that balance, right? I mean, you should just keep going. And all these noises around should not matter, right? Even I like the parents at home, they would say that why you have to work till late, and why you can't come early, and all of that. And then female themselves, they're holding themselves back, that I can't take additional responsibilities because then I have to answer questions at the homes and all of that. So all these things are there. So I think there needs to be some resilient that one should also build, because if you want to grow, all these things should not matter. You need to have that balance. You need to have you need to manage the entire universe. So yeah, just work upon yourself and just be confident and just go. That there are immense opportunities, there are a lot of things, and no one can stop you. Like, if you have that in you, no one can stop you. That's what it is.
Wow. I think, I would personally say here, go deaf to the noises around. Because, the more you want to listen to those noises, the more you will probably, find barriers for you to grow. go. So if you have decided
Absolutely.
that you need to go out of your comfort zone, you actually have to make an attempt on that. And the first here would be go just deaf to the noises around you, because it can be family, it can be your circle or the society that you're talking about, or people around you at work. But till the time you keep listening to the noises around, you will not be able to take the next step.
And it's your decision, right? It's your decision. You want to be here, so you have to live this. I mean, there's no escape.
100%. Thank you so much. Next would go to Priyashmita. What steps can men in leadership take to become effective allies to promoting gender diversity? A difficult one from them, but still we can expect.
Yes, not really difficult. I think I've seen even feminist men and very patriarchal women. So not
Happy to see.
absolutely impossible situation. I think it starts from making a change from within. The first thing that I keep hearing about is we hire the right candidate. I don't see gender. Please see gender. I'll tell you why. You don't see gender because you are not the one facing discrimination. You have to see that there is, when you don't see the numbers there, then please go ahead and make an effort to see the gender. And when I say it, it doesn't mean you hire somebody or promote somebody who's not good enough. It means when you identify that this is the quality I need for this role, you identify and make an extra effort to find exact same qualities, but from a female gender. You need to make an effort. Sitting there and expecting that pool to come in, obviously the pool will be more of men because that's where it exists. That pool is not going to be. So the first statement is anybody who tells me I don't see gender, I get up and say, please see it. The family not seeing it is why we are in this mess. So please see it. Please open your eyes and see that there is none because you're not facing it. The ones who are facing it, you see, it is, the brunt, the one who's the victim has to see it, not the one who's actually perpetrating it. That's the place it is. And I don't mean that women are victims, but necessarily, but then that's basically it is. That's the first thing. So first change your mindset and see that there is a barrier. Now that barrier could be for various reasons. The barrier could be that also it could be in how you treat. Like example, somebody just said, they decided that it was, I think Ms. Bostu said that somebody else decided that what was good for a child. You don't decide for us. We've taken the decision. It is our choice. If we've come here, we know what's good for our child. You're not the parent. It is my decision. So don't take decisions on our behalf. Don't decide whether we will be able to do it or not. Give us the opportunity. Again, I keep repeating the same thing. If we fail, throw us out, but give us the opportunity because we are good. Not because assumption, because the assumption anyone can fail. Tomorrow, a male counterpart can have men fall more sick, unfortunately, So what are you going to do? Just suddenly just stop promoting men because, hey, men after 40 can have heart attacks. I mean, if I go by this one. So that's not how it is. The point is, if you're willing to listen to it, you need to get into that. Also the entire leadership, when I get up and say that, the leadership has to be, DEI has become more of a paper thing, whereby, what Smita was saying, that it's more like, paper mein dal diya, maine tick mark to kar diya. But tick mark doesn't get you anywhere. What are you doing? Are you getting, ensuring that, let's say even the casual conversation, the sexist conversations in office, have you stopped that? As a male, this one, have you as a boss got up and ensured that the sexist conversations stop? I don't think that is. Because I've walked into plenty of places. Men like to have those conversations with me because they think that I'm, not that female. I
participate.
Yeah, I will participate. They don't know that I generally give it back. The point is that have you stopped it? When you get up and do that, these are all unconscious biases which creep into us. It creeps into women as well. And I'm not saying only men will have that bias. When you're hearing it day in and day out, that unconscious bias creeps in every one of them. What are you, are you getting up and saying, hey, I'm going to make the change. I'm going to see 50% women and I'm going to see in the boardroom and I'm going to see it with the effort of everyone being good. And there are organizations which have done it. There are enough organizations with more than 50% women in boardroom and not one can point out and say, hey, this one doesn't fit into the boardroom. How was this person, this one? It is just that those companies made an effort. So have you gone ahead and done that? And this starts right from the time you start your career to when you go up. And this also includes also in your personal life. When I say men as allies, I also need, when you have a wife at home, a mother at home, a sister at home, are you being somebody who's the wind beneath their wings? Or are you getting up and saying, hey, listen, for example, are you being an equal parent? Are you coming back and saying, hey, listen, today is my job, I'm going to do it? Are you getting up and telling your mother that, listen, you don't have to cook, I can cook? This entire thing, it starts from everywhere. Because the biases are not just in professional life, the biases are across.
Starts from home.
And can we do that? So I think that's one of the things men can be. And I think there's a huge opportunity. And when women speak about it, don't say, don't speak about it. Please tell us to speak about it, because you need to learn to hear about it.
True. Yeah, absolutely in sync with that, because unless we speak about it, there cannot be a solution which we can find out on it.
Absolutely.
Great. So my last question would go to Nikita. What role does organization culture play in either supporting or hindering a woman's progression to senior leadership? And how can companies foster a more inclusive environment? I think very important, because if it doesn't flow in the culture and from the leadership to promote a woman or probably let her grow, it will not happen. So would really look forward to some thoughts on this.
So before I answer, so I have some doubts in my head when I actually talk about the organizational culture. We talk about promoting women.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, generally when women, let me talk about women in sales, maybe, in banks or in any financial institution or any cosmetic brand or wherever. जब भी कोई women अच्छा success पा जाती है, if she gets a good account maybe, or if she does really well in her, whatever parameters are there, why it is always heard that अरे लड़की है, हो ही गया होगा, she would have done it. अकाउंट तो मिल ही जाता है लड़कियों को, या बॉस के साथ कुछ होगा. I have heard ugliest of conversations in terms of women who are at a senior level, or I have heard so many background stories that are not even true, but they have just been spread across. And the worst part of it is that women contribute to such kind of a discussion. So I think as an organization, the women must be mindful about refraining themselves while talking ill about other women peers and women who are going ahead. And most importantly, I have seen, because I have been bitten by that as well, so I have seen most of the times women pulling down the other women who are going ahead. It may be a human tendency, but at the same time, such practices, such it creates a very, very ill environment, I would say. So coming to your question, so organizational culture is, maybe I would say, it's like a foundation upon which anybody's progression would depend, not only a woman, but a man or a woman, whoever is working. It is either built or it is blocked. So the inclusive culture actually creates a sense of maybe belongingness and equal opportunity. So you have to, as a leadership, it is the duty of the leadership to, create such kind of a culture. So I would say there must be some elements to it. First of all, as I said, that the leader roles, they should be like the role models. They should be maybe creation of a champion model thing that would work, champion of inclusivity. Maybe any kind of a particular body within the organization is created that actually advocates for women and advancement in the organization. Then secondly, most important is making safe spaces of expression, wherein women should not be afraid of talking their heart out without the fear of being judged all across. So that is also one thing. They always fear. There is a constant state कि room में बैठे वो क्या सोच रहा है मेरे बारे में, या मैं अकेले हूँ, वो मेरे बारे में, what kind of perception?
Judge.
Exactly.
Judging comes in.
Yeah. And the third and the most important thing, I think, is when you make a policy in any organization, you should always back it with actions. It should not be like, कि we have given flexible work hours, but time पे आना जरूरी है. We have given some work from home arrangement, but showing your face, even if you can do that work from home, you have to do it because it's a disciplinary tick box that has to happen. The organization, as Pirashmita was, I'm sorry if I'm taking the right name, Ms. Guha, she was telling it that why would you, pester the rule book on your face? You should always, make it flexible. You open doors to creativity, so that the ideas come out, your creative angle will come out, and that will actually make more productive. I'll tell you, this is a tried and tested thing that I am imbibing in my team, and this actually works. So toxicity in the culture should be avoided, so that all such things can create an organization also prosper along with the employees that are there, maybe whether it is a man or a woman, especially women, because women needs 2-3 more things extra. They go through some bad days during the monthly cycles. They have to take care of their child. Sometimes their child is cranky, sometimes their own husband is cranky, sometimes the in-laws are not in a good mood in the morning, so she has had a bad morning altogether. All these things should be considered. Maybe fostering such things would be creating a better environment in the coming future. That is something from my side.
I think perfectly closed, and like I said before, the noise around you matters. So just go deaf. That's the only thing that you can do about it.
True.
So great, wonderful discussion with all the lovely panelists that I have. So guys, do we have any questions right now in the chat box which we need to take up from the audience? Any questions that need to be taken up for the panelists? Great. So thank you so much, everyone. I would just like to close with the same statement like I mentioned before, that, the going future, leadership will not be differentiated between a woman leader or a male leader. There can be only a good leader or a bad leader. And with all the wonderful women around, I think, they will all agree with me and motivate more women to come into the leadership positions. It was an amazing discussion, and I'm really excited to be in touch with all of you. And thank you so much once again for joining in.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Ma'am, before we call it a day,